Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and this is going to be a brief little review for Green Lantern Rage of the Red Lanterns, the trade paperback prequel to Blackest Night, as well as a supplement on Red Lanterns Blood and Rage Volume 1, which is the new 52. Red Lanterns trade. And essentially, when we're looking at Rage of the Red Lanterns, as I say, this is a prequel to Blackest Night. Now, I haven't read Blackest Night, so the ending doesn't get fully resolved with this story, but it's worth enough reading because there are elements to it that are resolved. And basically, the entire thing is playing around a prophecy that may or may not be directly instigated by Sinestro to do with the multiple facets of the emotional spectrum. That is, all the other cores that we know very well nowadays, the Indigo Lanterns, the Blue Lanterns, the Red Lanterns, the Star Sapphires, all of them are basically debuted in the story for all intents and purposes. And it definitely seems like Sinestro, who is part of the Sinestro Corps, although in this story he's incarcerated finally, it seems like his machinations are still unfolding. And so we basically are following Hal Jordan, and he's dealing very much so internally with, how do we deal with Sinestro? How do we deal with evil? And it turns out that the Guardians have actually kind of, anticipated questions like this, because not only are they trying to create alpha lanterns, like the biggest, baddest lanterns in the land, but they've also given certain Green Lanterns the ability to use lethal force against criminals. This comes heavily into play when we follow Green Lantern Lyra, whose hubby was killed by a Sinestro Corps member who I believe to be the son of Abin Sur, the former Green Lantern, and she basically takes revenge out on this Sinestro Corps member. Now, this all builds up to a head when, she's put on trial, and her rage gets so great that she is basically summoned to a red power ring. And of course, she becomes one of the first Green Lanterns to become a Red Lantern. And we see a lot of the Red Lanterns toward the middle half to the end of this story. It takes a while for them to actually show up in it. And it's just a power struggle between all these different Lantern Corps. And Hal Jordan is expected by, the Blue Lanterns to become their leader. And he doesn't want any part of that. He just wants to remain the Green Lantern that he is. And so it's a very intriguing story, of course, and unfortunately, Lyra doesn't make it to the end. Spoiler alert! But we see Hal Jordan actually become temporarily a Red Lantern as well, and his struggles are just tenfold. And we know that, this is all building to something even greater. So, it's a very intriguing story for what it's worth, and I just love seeing all of these different facets and like hundreds of different characters, and it's definitely worth a look in my opinion. So. I'm going to rate this one 4.5 out of 5. And that'll get us moving on to the new 52 Red Lanterns trade Blood and Rage Volume 1. Now this one primarily comprises a lot of the, single issue reviews that I've done in the past, so I'm not going to reiterate too much of it, except to say that, basically what we're watching in these issues is a civil war brewing in the Red Lantern Corps. Atrocitus, their leader, kind of, he goes to the corpse of a former Guardian called Krona and uses this corpse as a sort of fueling of his rage as well as a confidant. He basically, mulls things over in what his cause is and everything. He goes and talks to this corpse. And when this corpse goes missing one day, basically it just is like pulling at the threads of who Atrocitus is, his very being. And so he comes into doubting himself and questioning himself as far as what he's doing. Now, as this is all going on, his right-hand woman, Bleeze, who we do see, kind of trying to usurp his power, and he suspects that's what she's up to. In this volume, we do see her actually succeed to a point. But of course, people who know the Red Lantern Corps know she's no Atrocitus and kind of look at her like she's a joke. So we don't get a resolution in this volume as far as what's going to happen. Bleeze does take over command of the Red Lantern Corps for the most part, and Atrocitus is kind of left hanging fighting zombies in one of the issues that I didn't get to read until this volume. And it's very interesting. I can't wait to see how it does play out. So I'll be rating this one 4 out of 5 because I did really enjoy a lot of what was going on in the first several issues of Red Lanterns. And I'm hoping to collect, all of the other ones in volume 2 and see just how it all plays out when it finally comes out. One thing I do want to note with this particular volume, if you've been watching my reviews of the Green Lantern animated series, the Red Lanterns play a large role in that series, and it's very interesting to see how different they are from their comic book counterparts. Now, for people who aren't aware of the comic books, or vice versa, aren't aware of the animated series, in the comics, basically, you have an entire mindless race of just rage and instinctual, Red Lantern Corps. It's only through Atrocitus process dipping them in the red blood oceans of their homeworld Yzmalt that they start to have consciousness again. And whereas in the animated series, we see that they're all pretty much conscious. So I don't think it's so much as, this comic book serves as a prequel to that. I just think they're different kind of timelines. And because, of course, some of the characters on the animated series don't even look quite exactly like they do in the comics. But just wanted to note that. And so, yeah, I definitely suggest picking up these two volumes if you like Green Lantern or Red Lanterns. And that's going to be pretty much it for me. So I'll catch you later. Peace.